Hi everyone, this is Richard. In this video, let's talk about exceptions. In a previous video, we talked about getting a string, which was the text input, and converting it into an integer, right? Oh, by the way, int.parse. So you notice that? So what is that, right? That's a static class, right? So int class is a static class. So int.parse, parse is one of the methods in the static class. So you don't need to instantiate the int. All you really need to do is int.parse, if that makes sense. Okay, so obviously it's a class here, so you can instantiate it, the variable b, and instantiate that here, but also you can use it as a static class also. Perfect example. Anyway, let's get back to, let's say for example we got string a equals 1a, and you want to convert that into an integer. And the bottom line is you can't, right? And the computer really shouldn't guess what you're trying to do, because a human might say, oh, he meant to say 1, but maybe you meant to say 10, 11. You don't really know. Maybe they meant to say, instead of A, they meant to hit 3, and the 1 was a total mistake too. They were having a few too many drinks or something. I don't know. But they didn't do the correct thing. So what you should do, instead of pretending that you know what the user was meant to do, just say you made a mistake. But the problem with it is that when you do that, what can actually happen is it can crash the program, right? So for example, I want to go through this, then I want to go through this line, and then I want to write you are done. So let's go ahead and try that. And you'll notice that it doesn't actually work, right? So you get these errors and it never hits this code right here. So once it hits here, it says you can't do this, and it gives you an error and it ends the program. Sometimes, like for example, if you say enter a number and they enter a number and it's not a number, it's some text they mistyped, they typed in 1a. What you'd want to do is you don't want to crash the system, but at the same time, you want to catch it and make sure that it's not the wrong input. Okay, and so that's what we use, a try and a catch. Okay, you try something, if it doesn't work, you catch it. All right, so let's try this another way. How do we do that? Well, I'll put this at the very bottom and I'll uncomment this and go right up here. So I'm going to delete this one right here. So instead of just doing it here, what you'll do is you'll try to put it in a try-catch tree, I guess you call it. So you'll say try or blocks, I think, something like that. Try, same thing. But the reason why, notice I put int b here and b here. The reason why I did that is if I put int b here, as soon as you leave these brackets, remember, the value is going to be deleted, the variable is going to be deleted. So you got to keep the variable. You can change the value, but keep the variable out here, out of the brackets, the curly brackets, and then b int.parse. Notice the syntax, curly brackets. The next would be catch. So if this happens, it's going to keep going. If there's an error, you're going to catch the error right here. And it's just an exception right here. An exception, okay? So there's going to be some type of argument right here, and usually it's going to be due to a parameter, it's going to be some exception. There's multiple types of exceptions. I don't know what any of them are. I know there's a format exception like I just had. So in other words, if it's you're trying to make an integer out of a text and it doesn't convert, that's a format error, okay? But if there exception, or error, if this is any type of exception whatsoever, I'll put it inside and I'll write out what the error actually is, okay? And so what I'll do is I'll run it, and then what should happen? You'll run it, it'll try this, it says no, it will write the error, but then it will keep going on to the bottom line, okay? We'll go over finally in just a second. So it should write this text right here, you are done, whereas before it would crash. This one, it keeps going all the way through the program, okay? Now you can always have like a while loop or something like that where it keeps trying and trying and trying again, but that's how you would, that's how you would go ahead and make sure this program doesn't crash if somebody entered the wrong information. Now I'll change this to a 1, so it should be no exception. So what it should do is go here, go here, and because it's complete, pass the catch part. So all this text right here should be all gone. The good try will still happen. Okay, so no exceptions, so you didn't have to catch any errors. All right. You can also have multiple catch statements. So if, for example, the more information, I'll have to put some type of exception inside of here. Field access exception. I don't know actually what that means. I could give it an E as well, because of scoping, right? So I can always do that as well. Of course, this catches everything. I shouldn't put an exception if I'm going to separate it out, because sometimes I want to know specifically what type of problem I'm actually having in this program. So as the more detailed you get, the easier it is to debug, right? If somebody just says you have a problem, well, that doesn't help me very much. But if you could say exactly what the problem is, exactly where the problem is, you can look back on it and have a much better time of fixing the mistake you made in the first place, unintentionally, of course. Okay? So catch can have multiple, there can be multiple catches. And then there's going to be a finally. You don't always have to have finally. That's an option. Sometimes you don't have to put it. I'm honest, to be honest, I don't know why finally exists. I think it exists just so that you know that it went through all of the catches, I guess. It went through the try statements. I'm not exactly sure why, but no matter what happens, when it tries this, if there's an error, it will catch it. No matter what, it will go to finally. So if this works, it'll go to finally. If this doesn't work, it'll hit the catch, then it'll hit the finally. So this will print no matter what. Okay? Again, I'm not exactly sure what it is for, but that's what it's for. Maybe I'll learn that later in life and I'll put that in the comment section, okay? I'm going to say that a lot from now on. Okay, good. So, good. And then it runs all the way through. So I think that's as helpful, at least for me, it's very helpful, because there's things that I can always try and give myself a little bit of feedback in terms of, hey, what is going on here? What's the problem, that I can really remember this and fix the problem in the future, okay? Our program where we made a Fibonacci sequence and the user had to enter input, enter text or enter numbers inside of there, we could have used this in case, and that would be version 1.1 or something, in case somebody made a mistake. You wouldn't crash the program. You would simply just tell the user to fix the problem and keep going. Okay? Thanks.